Hey everyone, and happy Fire Prevention Week. Welcome to the Sycamore Fire Department. My name is Firefighter Ian, and I'm so excited to talk to you boys and girls this week about fire safety. We're going to be doing things a little bit differently this year because instead of you all coming to visit me, I have to come and visit you. So I'm going to try to bottle all of this fun energy and information up, and I'm going to send it right to you at home. So sit back and enjoy, and even bring your brothers or sisters or family along to watch how this fun video is going to go. Okay, are you ready? Excellent. Let's talk about Fire Prevention Week. Fire Prevention Week is this entire week been dedicated to keeping ourselves, our families, our friends, and even our neighbors safe. So we're going to talk about some very important things today that I want you to remember forever. Some of these things are very easy. You're going to remember them and say, this is super easy, Firefighter Ian. But let's talk about an emergency. What is an emergency? An emergency is something that is totally unplanned. And it's an event that could happen that without immediate help, danger could happen. And so when we think of the word emergency, we might all of a sudden get excited, we might get nervous, we might get scared, because usually something very dangerous is happening to somebody we know, or a stranger, or even somebody's house, right? So we're going to talk about an emergency. And there's one way that we can call for help, and that's by calling a very specific and special phone number. Do you remember what that phone number is? Yeah, good. Let's all say that together, okay? That phone number is 911. Say that again, 911. Very good. This is a very short phone number, isn't it? It's very short because we want to remember this, because guess what happens? When we're in an emergency, our bodies, our brains, and our minds, they all of a sudden start to shut down, and all they worry about is staying safe. And so when that shuts down and we're worried about staying safe, we start to forget silly things. We forget our address, we forget phone numbers, we might even forget our name or somebody else's name. And that's all normal reaction to our bodies when we're involved in an emergency. And when we call this phone number, we have to remember that this phone number is calling a lot of very, very important people. Let's say we're going for a nice little bike ride, and we're riding our bikes, we're being nice and safe, we've got our helmets on, oh this is great, and oh my goodness, all of a sudden, something happens. There's a stick that jumps out of the roadway at us, or we all of a sudden see an animal and we lose our balance, and here we go crashing off into the ground. How many of us have done this before? Oh yes, now look at us. We've got scratches and bumps and bruises, and now all of a sudden we might even be bleeding. Oh my gosh, look at all of this. Oh, this hurts so bad. Do we need to call 911 for these? We probably don't need to call 911 for this, do we? We've all done this. We've gotten scratches and bumps and bruises. We can go in the house, we can talk to a grown-up if they're around, and we can say, look what we just did, and we can go wash all of our injuries in the sink with some soap and water, and yeah, it might hurt a little bit, but this is what's gonna keep it clean so it doesn't get even more sick. And then when we're done with that, we can put a Band-Aid right on our owies, and now we're all good to go. And we can go back out and we can ride those bikes again, can't we? That's really good. We don't need to call 911 for that. Now sometimes we might have a really big accident where we do fall off the bike and somehow we accidentally maybe broke one of our bones, okay? And this could be an emergency. Anytime we have a broken bone or we have bleeding that we can't stop, we might need to call 911, okay? And so now the nice boys and girls are gonna come out in the ambulance and they're gonna drive down the street with those flashing lights on and that loud siren. And really all that is to keep us safe in the ambulance. Is an ambulance scary? No, an ambulance is not scary, okay? Sometimes the events, like an emergency, they get us nervous and they might get us a little bit scared, okay? So those boys and girls are gonna come out and they might wrap your arm up real good and make sure it doesn't get hurt. And then we'll drive you to the hospital, which is also not a scary place at all either. There are tons of wonderful, very nice nurses and doctors who are all there to help take good care of us and make sure that we are safe and healthy. And then they can send us home with a cool cast on our arm and now we're all good to go and play again. Okay. Say we see out our window, we see somebody at our neighbor's house. And it's somebody that we've never seen before. Okay, and what they're doing is, they're breaking into the window, and it looks like they're starting to take something. Can we just go over there and talk to this bad person and say, hey, you need to leave this house alone? No, we can't. This person could be dangerous, right? So we don't ever want to go up to somebody we don't know, okay? They could be very dangerous. We can call 911. And if we call 911, who's gonna come and help us? Yeah, good, the police, right? So we know 911, it'll call the ambulance in case we're hurt, and it'll also call the police. So now the nice police officers, they're gonna come out and they're gonna get this person into real big trouble, okay? Because they were doing something they were not supposed to do. These police officers are super nice people, and they drive around the town to make sure nobody's getting into trouble, and they make sure everybody's following the rules. And if you're not following the rules, you're gonna get in big trouble. Okay, so now the police officer is gonna get this person into big trouble, and they're keeping you safe at home. So that's a good reason to call 911. Do we ever go up to a stranger or somebody we don't know? No, we have to make sure we don't ever go up to somebody we don't know. That's very dangerous, okay? Now, let's pretend we're sitting at home again, and all of a sudden, we see smoke. It's coming out of our neighbor's window, or maybe even fire. Could this be an emergency?
Yeah!
Oh, absolutely. This is a huge emergency. That means there could be a fire in the house. Can we call 911?
Yeah!
Of course. And so who's gonna come and help us now?
Firefighter!
Right, the firefighters. So those nice boys and girls are gonna come out, and then guess what? The ambulance might come out too, and the police officers, because there might be a lot of people that we have to help keep away so the firefighters can get in and help put the fire out. So those boys and girls are gonna come out in the fire engines, and they're gonna spray water on the fire, and they're gonna help protect all of those people and save all of their things, okay? So this is a big 911 emergency. Very good, very good. Let's see this. Let's pretend that we're at a friend's house, and all of a sudden a grown-up, like our friend's mom or dad or grandma or grandpa, they say, goodness, I don't feel so good. I don't feel good. I think I need to go to the hospital. Can we call 911?
Yeah!
Absolutely. If a grown-up or an adult or one of your parents or a teacher is suddenly saying, I don't feel so good, either my belly hurts or my chest hurts or I'm having a hard time breathing, we can certainly call 911, okay? And those boys and girls on the ambulance are gonna come out and they're gonna help that adult, okay? So these are really big reasons to call 911. We have to be very careful that we don't dial 911 for practice or for pretend or even to play tricks or jokes with, okay? This is a very serious number. Do you know who you call when you call 911? Did you know who that person is? Well, take a look here. When we call 911, we're actually calling a police officer that are specially trained to answer phones and be on the computers and talk to police officers and talk to ambulance people and talk to firefighters. So they're very important. They have weather maps, they have maps of the whole county, and they have very important people that they can call in case there's an emergency. Do you think it's ever a good idea to play jokes with this phone number? No, it's not. So we have to promise the Firefighter Ian that we will never, ever play jokes or tricks with 911. It's for real grown-up emergencies only. You got it? Excellent. Very good. The next thing I want to talk about is one of my favorite things of all. It's my smoke detector. When I talk about my smoke detector, I talk about it like it's my best friend. Is that kind of silly? That's kind of silly. But here's why it's my best friend. Have we seen these before? Usually they're hanging up real high, up on the ceiling where it's real hard to reach. This smoke detector is very important to me because it protects me and it keeps me safe. How does it do that? Well, what it does is it detects smoke. Okay, look at this thing. It's a huge nose. That's all it is. It's a huge nose that's hanging on your ceiling. So next time you see one, you're gonna say, that's a goofy looking nose. And so what this nose does is it sniffs all day long and all night long when we're asleep. And what it's smelling for is smoke, because if there's smoke, there could also be fire, right? And fire is very dangerous. So what happens is this smells smoke, and it says, uh-oh, I smell smoke. There could be an emergency. Anytime, no matter where we are, whether we're at home, we're at the grocery store, we're back at school, anytime we hear a smoke detector make a noise, we have to get out of the building, no matter what, okay? Until a grown-up, like our parents, or a firefighter, or a police officer, tells us that it's safe to go back in. We have to get out of the building. Okay, sometimes when mom or dad are cooking on the stove, it makes a lot of smoke, and this smoke detector, ooh, it smells that bacon. Oh, I love bacon. And it starts to make that noise, doesn't it? Okay, and that's okay because sometimes it's an accident. And so if mom or dad or a grown-up tells us it's safe to stay in, we can stay in. But if we ever hear it anytime, we need to start getting outside. That is very important. So here's the important thing about our smoke detectors. We have a job to do. We need to go around our house and make sure all of our smoke detectors work. Because if it doesn't work, can it keep us safe? No, it can't. And that's very dangerous. So what I want you to do after this movie is I want you to look in every single one of your rooms. I want you to look in your bedroom, your brother's bedroom or your sister's, your mom or dad's bedroom, the kitchen, the living room, the basement, the upstairs, the hallway, everywhere. I want you to look in every room of your house and find your smoke detector. And when you do, I want you to show your grown-up this button right here. You see this button? Okay. This button is actually the doorbell button for your smoke detector. We're gonna push this button and we'll see if the doorbell works. Are you ready? Fantastic. That's very good news. That means this is keeping us safe. If we push the button and nothing happens, we need to change the battery in our smoke detector, okay? Every smoke detector is gonna have a battery, and we might need to change those. Now, some of you might be saying, well, Firefighter Ian, I'm not gonna check my smoke detector because my parents say that it's plugged in by the wires. And that might be true. But did you know this? Here's what the wires do. There's a big storm outside, and all the trees are blowing, and they knock over a big tree onto the wires. What happens? The power goes out, doesn't it? And if the power goes out, are those wires gonna work? They're not gonna work. So the only thing that can keep us protected is actually, what those wires do is they talk to each other. Okay, that means if you have a smoke detector in your brother's room and the smoke detector in the basement smells smoke, it's gonna call each other through those wires. It's gonna say, uh-oh, smoke detector up in the bedroom. I smell smoke down here in the basement. And that smoke detector in the bedroom is gonna say, uh-oh, I'll go tell the smoke detector in the kitchen. And then that smoke detector is gonna say, uh-oh, I'm gonna go call the smoke detector in the hallway. And now they all start to beep at the same time to tell you to get out of the house. All right, that's what those wires are for. So we still have to have a battery to help make sure that they work. Okay, so let's plug those in so we can stay nice and safe. Good. Now, there's another little secret about our smoke detector. But if we look, there is right here. Okay, do you see that number? That is the smoke detector's birthday. Did you know that? Our smoke detectors have a birthday. Birthday means that is when that smoke detector was born. And guess what? Our smoke detectors are really only good for about 5 or 6 years. Did you know that? They're really only good because those noses, they get all stuffy from the dust in our house and from sniffing for 5 to 6 years. That's a long time of sniffing without falling asleep, right? So our smoke detectors get tired or their noses get clogged up. So what we need to do sometimes is replace those. So after school today when your grown-ups are around, I want you to go around your whole house and find every smoke detector, and you can write them down. You can write down there's one in the living room and there's one in the bedroom. And remember, they're way up high. They're all the way up on the top of the ceiling. So when you find them, I don't want you to climb up there and push the doorbell button, okay? I want you to show your grown-up who can do it safely with a ladder or can maybe even reach it if they're tall enough, okay? And then we want to push all of the doorbell buttons to make sure they work, okay? Can you do that for me? Excellent, excellent, very good.